You're listening to Montreal Now on CJAD 800.
That is James MENNIE. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. So, Jim, I guess we can start by what I referred to as the big cage match coming up tomorrow. And it's happening in Montreal, right? You have Francois Legault taking on Justin Trudeau. What do you think?
Oh, what about this is going to be? I mean, it'll be in Montreal. They're meeting on Friday morning. And, as with any good cage match, one half of the card has been talking it up today. Francois Legault was speaking in the legislature to that nice Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, head of the Parti Québécois, and basically saying, I'm going to be talking. I'm going to be asking for full power over immigration to Quebec, which is something that he has been calling for at least since the last election campaign. And what's really funny here is when Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon turned around and said, well, what are you going to do if he says no? And Legault says, well, I'll just weigh my options. Now, the problem is Legault, as in many cases, he's painted himself into a corner using his tongue as a brush. He has said he campaigned saying, I will hold a referendum on repatriating all powers in immigration to Quebec. Although, given the current economic context, and using my own little calculator here, a referendum on this issue would cost at least $100 to $150 million to Quebec, which I don't think we got that kind of money to throw around. But once again, and I mentioned this meeting to you earlier in the week, they both need a win. Trudeau needs a win, and Legault needs a win. So if they both go in, if they both, try to headbutt each other, if they both come out with, the traditional bloody foreheads and it was a cage match and it was terrible and nobody achieves anything, it'll still be seen as a win for both. Trudeau stood up to the increasingly annoying Premier of Quebec, and Francois Legault finally showed those bullies over on the Parti Québécois that he can be tough and look after himself, and he's not going to take any crap from Ottawa. The fact of the matter is, there is enough blame to go around for the mess that is Canada's immigration system. There's blame to go to Quebec for its incompetence at its level, just the responsibilities it has. And of course, Canada, the Trudeau Liberals, have established literally a world-class reputation as being one of the most incompetent immigration administrations on earth. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the tone is going to be, whether it'll just be we agree to disagree. I don't think either man can afford to come out of this particular match, Aaron, without a clump of scalp somewhere, because it's do or die at this point.
I wonder, though, again, given the fact that I think the most recent polls, Jim, right, you had the Liberals for the first time in a long time actually trailing federally in Quebec, and that's obviously a reason for concern.
Well, so it's not that they're just trailing. They've been trailing the Bloc Québécois for months, actually. They're trailing the Tories.
Right.
Yeah. So this is the thing. They're in third place. They're in huge trouble. So it's entirely possible. And as our listeners will attest to, Justin Trudeau, will he cave to Francois Legault? The record says yes, but I'm not entirely sure whether in this particular instance, Trudeau's going to, look for the safe haven of going under his desk on this one, simply because he needs to send a message that he is not a punching bag for every premier who decides to call a meeting with him, because this was not Trudeau's idea. This meeting is taking place at Legault's request. So once again, I'm sorry, dumb symbolism plays a huge role in politics. And the symbolism of this is going to be very, very important. Francois Legault dare not leave that office empty-handed, and Justin Trudeau really cannot afford to be slapped around one more time in public, like Fredo in The Godfather. He's got to sort of like put his foot down and push back and show that he's the prime minister. But a lot of people out there, myself included, aren't entirely sure that's going to happen.
So I want to move on, but I want to just ask you for one more take here. This is not simply then a matter of him writing a blank check, right? Because that's obviously what Francois Legault wants. That's not going to happen.
it's not going to happen, but it's very difficult for me to see how he can give him even a little more. Right now, Ottawa is in charge of family reunification, in charge of refugees. Essentially, Quebec is in charge only of economic immigration, okay? And I think all of us know pretty well that if Quebec is given full control over immigration to Quebec at this point in time, the only people who will be getting into Quebec will be those who speak French and bring money with them. End of story. And I think Ottawa is not going to be able to sort of walk away with that with a pair of clean hands if that is in fact what happens. I think a lot of people, even in his own party, even his own Quebec caucus, will be down Trudeau's neck if he turns around and hands the keys to the immigration file to François Legault.
All right, so let me move on from that and talk about the deficit. So this is the story now. A couple of days later, we heard Aaron Durfel earlier this afternoon talking about the fact that, you know what, what's supposed to be in there for seniors is in fact not when you do a deeper dive into the numbers. And today, one of the credit rating agencies weighing in. What happened today?
Two of them, Morningstar and Moody's. They didn't change the credit rating per se, but they put out letters of concern. And Morningstar actually used the expression economic deterioration. In other words, you can still Quebec can still use its credit card at the restaurant. The thing is, they'll probably end up having to call the bank before they put the transaction through. There's real concerns with the amount of that deficit. It doesn't matter how often François Legault tries to spin this, or if his voice goes so high that only Chihuahuas can hear him when he says the word billions. Okay, the fact of the matter is this is huge, and he's trying to cloak this. You know what? Excuse me, but everybody now is getting surly. I used to think it was just Legault. When you were talking to Girard yesterday, and you mentioned the whole fiasco with the LA Kings. He was getting downright pugnacious towards the end. These guys, I think, have all been handed a very thin skin, courtesy of François Legault. But yeah, it doesn't. No matter how much they stomp up and down, it doesn't change. There's a world out there that doesn't give a damn about what the CAC's rhetoric is. They just care about the bottom line. And right now, the bottom line for Quebec is not looking very well. And I got to tell you, sooner or later, that will trickle through to the general consciousness. It's a bit esoteric right now, but on the one hand, we're saying, well, we're paying $10 billion, interest on our debt. Well, if our rating goes down, we have to pay even more without seeing anything. We're just paying the vig. It's like, and this is something that should be keeping politicians awake at night, except here, where the biggest issue seems to be making sure somebody at the Journal de Montréal doesn't criticize you on the issue of language.
By the way, do you think François Legault keeps hanging on to this? It's not really 11, it's $8.8 billion. Do you think that's something he's going to keep wearing?
I hope he keeps talking about it. I mean, if nothing else, Brian can splice together the greatest kind of montage by year's end just on this alone. But yeah, he will not. This is he's like a dog with a bone. He won't let go of it. And as much as people turn around and say, well, listen, it's no, it's not this. He's obsessed with appearance. Even though as an accountant he should know better. Yeah. Even as an accountant, he knows if Quebec's books were those of a company, and he had a client who submitted those books to him saying, "Give me an assessment of where this company is going," he's not going to give that company a AAA rating.
And you know what, Jim? Your wish is our command, Brian.
It's not 11 billion. It's 8.8 billion.
Thank you, sir. All right, there you go.
I don't know how he does that. It's amazing.
Yeah, it truly is. Jim MENNIE over at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
Adamant.